It looks like we are going live. Just give me a minute or two to finish getting everything set up. Most notably, I want to send this out to a couple places. Okay. Just be another moment or two here. If you're jumping in, we're going to be doing some kind of live coding class today. We're going to walk through making a plugin. We're going to talk about the structure, how we knew where to find everything, kind of the whole thing. So hopefully by the time this is over, you will be able to really utilize all the basic techniques of making a plugin in a real environment, something that's actually sort of useful. Okay, that's what I wanted. One moment. Close out of there. Post. All right, we can close out of there as well. Okay. Hey, Garrett, welcome back. Good to see you again. Oh my goodness. All right. So we're going to jump right in with some coding. Hopefully you can see my VS Code, Visual Studio Code. This is the editor I like to use. Really, you can do this with any editor that supports JavaScript, but this one does allow you to use a lot of like Prettier, which prettifies your code, and it gives you a lot of the suggestions and IntelliSense. It's very, very helpful. I'm doing well. Much less sick than the last time I saw you, Garrett. I think my cold is gone, and I am starting to move around again, so that'll be good for my back. So, thank you for asking. How about you, mate? Let's see. Okay. Let me see. All right. So, we'll start by... Good. Glad to hear that. Looking at this comments here. Now, this is called a JS doc. JS docs is a type of documenting code. Normally, it's used for developers to send information between each other, and it's also used to tell various editors how to interpret the code. And that's how it's being used in this case. So the RPG Maker editor uses this information to format the plugin screen. So up here at the top, we just have a comment that gives the name of this plugin. This is completely optional. You do not have to have it. Starting with this /* and ending with // we have our JS doc. Target MZ simply means that this is for RPG Maker MZ. If you don't have this, the editor is going to throw a warning saying it may not work in MZ. Plugin description is a simple sentence that gives the basics of what your plugin does. And actually, what it might be interesting, I think I can do this. 1 second. I can, I believe, show them side by side so that you can see how the JS docs are actually working. One moment. Let's see. All right, so that's what I want to do there. Then we're going to pull you up. Nope, can't do it. All right. Well, so this is where the description goes. This is where the author goes. This is where the help file goes. And this is where the parameters. So over here, you can see the description, the author, the parameters, right? So this is what makes this happen. Okay. So, next up, we're going to take a look at this parameter system. It's a little confusing. So we have a decorator, which is a decorator is the @ whatever. It's essentially a command in the comments. So @param use APL, so just giving it a name. APL is short for average party level. Then it has a description, a type. Boolean is true or false. If it is on, i.e. true, what do we want it to say? If it's off, VEF false, what do we want it to say? And what is the default? We want it to be default true. So this over here creates this. So we can see use APL, its name, yes or true, no or false. and then the description. Okay. So how did I know where these came from? It's a very good question. It actually took me a little while to figure it out originally. The best source I've found is this page right here. You might immediately notice it's in Japanese. I can't read Japanese, but the bits that are important for programming are in English. So we can see that these are the different pieces of a parameter. And we can see that these are some additional types. So there's a parameter, a text, a description, a default, etc. And then we can get a list of all the different types. And this is the most important piece. So all of these are types you can set. When you set a type, it tells the editor how to format what the user can put in. So if it's type number, they can only put in a number. If it's type Boolean, they can only choose yes or no. These are technically optional. All of this ultimately is seen as text by the engine. But formatting it this way makes it way, way simpler for someone to actually use your plugin. Remember, you're going to know how it works, but they aren't necessarily. Excuse me. Next, we have our help file. This is just what tells people how to use your plugin. These can be as detailed or as undetailed as you want. Notice the size here. This is determined by the editor. It's something that I would almost call a bug. The situation is that if you go past this, it'll just keep going and people won't be able to read your help file properly. So you kind of have to guess. Mines are actually a little short here, but that's okay. All right. Now we're going to move into the actual coding part. So this is the part I imagine everyone's here for. So let's see, where are we at in this? Well, trying to find it. Anyway, so we will start our coding here. All right, so we're going to do this line by line, and then I'm going to describe how I learned to do this as well. So this is JavaScript. That is the language that we are using. In most cases nowadays, you actually don't use the var keyword because it's globally scoped, meaning that it can be used anywhere in your code, and that can cause problems. But for this particular use in RPG Maker, you have to use var. Let won't work. So AML is a container or an object. We're saying here AML is equal to itself if it already exists, or a new object if it doesn't. Within, so when you do a name dot, that's saying inside of the object, we're going to create something called divided experience, which is another object, and it's going to either be itself or a new object. The reason we're doing it this way is internally, RPG Maker is often cycling these plugins, and so it looks to recreate things, and we don't want it to recreate it if it already exists. Next up, as the comment says, we're going to set up our plugin params using RPG Maker's plugin manager. So inside of our second object, we are going to create a variable. A variable is just a name. It's a box that holds data. And inside of params, we're going to put plugin manager.parameters and then the name of our file. Now this has to be exactly the same as this, only not .js. A lot of people, what they do is they make a variable, so it might be something like const plugin name equals, and then in this case it would be this, right? So that, and then they would put plugin name in here. That arguably is even best practice, but I don't think it's necessary, so I'm going to do it this way. But in any case, make sure your string is the same as your file name minus the .js. What is Plugin Manager? So Plugin Manager is a class, I think it's a class, inside of RPG Maker that runs your plugins. And it has a whole bunch of useful functions or methods, which is like .parameters is a method, that makes it all work. So without that, you'd be sort of coding from scratch, and why would you be using the engine anyway? So that's where that comes from. Then we're going to convert the string parameter from the editor to a Boolean by checking if two strings match. What does that mean? So up here we have our parameter use APL, and we said it's a Boolean, so it's supposed to be true false. But remember how I said everything is ultimately text? When someone sets it to yes, it's not actually setting it to true, the primitive data type. It's setting it to a string, true. That's not the same thing to JavaScript, or most programming languages. So what you're going to have to do is turn that true into the data type boolean true. So the way we do that is, I find a little weird in JavaScript, but here's what we do. We take our parameter, which we determined up here, and specifically we're looking at the useAPL parameter. Now, why does it look like this? So this is our aml.dividedExperience.params, right? It's ultimately an object or possibly an array. And so by using those brackets, we're saying this particular member. It's probably an object. So we're saying find the object, the thing in this object named useAPL, and then check what it is. In this case, it's the string true, and see, is it equal to this string true? If it is, that means it's true. So this returns the data type true. If it's not, it's going to return the data type false. So that's how we get true and false out of a string in JavaScript. Definitely a little odd. Hopefully that made sense. But the TLDR of it is you needed to get the string and then check and see if it's equal to this other string. All right, so find the average party level by totaling all the levels together and then dividing by the number of party members. This is just algebra, real basic. So we're going to put it inside of a function, and we're going to put that function inside of our AML object. We're going to call it calculateAPL. So it's a function, and we're going to say let. So remember how I said usually you're going to use let because it's scoped to just the function? This is an example of that. So let average level, which is a variable, equals 0, which is an integer. Let member count would equal to gameparty.members.length. Gameparty.members is a function from the engine that finds out how, well, not even how many, is all of your party members. So it's everything about them. It's who they are, it's their stats, it's what weapons they have, it's all the things. Right now, all we need is how many of them are there. So it has a property.length. Okay? Once we have that, we're going to say gameparty.members for each, which is a keyword function in JavaScript that iterates or sort of goes through an array and pulls out the first thing in it, does something to it, pulls out the second thing in it, does something to it, etc. So for each element of the array, we want to take the average level, which starts at 0, and add whatever the element dot level is. So let's say you have 3 party members. It's going to go for party member 1, who's level 2, average level plus 2. For party member 2, who's level 2, 2 plus 2, average level plus 2 is now 4. And it's going to give you the total of everybody's added up levels. And then you're going to return, which is send back out to the computer, the floor, which is the whole number. When you divide, sometimes there's a decimal. It chops off the decimal and gives the nearest whole number underneath. And you're going to do average level divided by the member count, which will give you the average level. Because when you add up everybody's level number, various levels, and then divide by the number of people, you get an average. So we have our APL, and since we returned it, all we have to do to use this is put aml.calculateAPL and then 2 brackets or parentheses, these guys, to run it. So that's what we're going to do. Determine XP payout with a bit of algebra and a function from the battle manager. So once again, we're creating a function in our AML object. This time I'm going to say base XP is equal to gametroop.experience total. This means, so this is from the engine once again. A game troop is an enemy troop, and the experience total is all of the experience that each monster gives added up. Makes sense, right? So the base experience, say, it goes to 100. You have 3 monsters, and they add up to 100 experience for the party. Member count, we already went over, so we're going to use that again. So notice here how we're going to use the helper function we made above, the calculateAPL, to make this work. So if aml.dividedExperience.useAPL, so if that parameter is set to true, then we're going to return out to the engine math.floor, the base experience from the monsters, which is set in the database. Actually, I can show you where that's set. You are setting this here. They give a certain amount of experience, and then you make a troop, let's say that has 2 of them, so it's going to be, in this case, it's the same. So this person's experience plus this person's experience. That's where that number's coming from. So base experience divided by our party level, because we have that turned on, and then divide that by our member count, how many members there are. So if it was 100 and the average party level was 2, that's going to be 50. And if we have 2 party members, it's going to be 25, right? If you don't have this on, if use APL is set to false, it's just going to do the base experience divided by the member count. So if you have a level 20 and a level 5, but you still ultimately have 2 people and it's 100, you're going to get 50 no matter what. Right, so that's how we are actually using our plugin parameter that we allow the user to set. Then, let's see. Next, we're going to do aliasing. Now, this is really important for RPG Maker programming, and it's pretty unique to RPG Maker programming. I don't really see it used very many other places. This is kind of hard to describe. I do have another video on it, but I'll give the cheat sheet version. So we have in our object AML a variable battle manager, which isn't the best name, but it'll work. You can call this whatever you want. Equals the actual battle manager in the engine dot make rewards. Make rewards is a function of the battle manager, and it's what, well, creates the rewards that are given at the end of the battle. So once we say that this equals this, we can now override the original function in the engine. When you create a plugin and you use a base function, you override it. Your version becomes the only version. The problem with this is sometimes maybe the user has plugins where more than one person has overrode the same function, and that will break all of the plugins and usually the game entirely. So aliasing is how we get around that. What you do is you make your plugin command use the original command first and then any changes. So if everybody does that, then the original command always works the way it's supposed to, and for the most part the changes don't get in the way. Now obviously that's the reason there's plugin order, is sometimes this doesn't work and you still need to be careful, but this is good practice. You definitely want to alias your functions. So you have made your alias, and now you're going to call the original function by overriding it. So battle manager.makeRewards is a function, which we are then going to call our alias. So we're calling the original function with .call in this. This just means it's like self in every other language. It's putting your own, putting the class instance's own self into all the calls. That's the best way I can describe it. So, and then this bit of code here is from the original make reward. So this dot underscore usually means like private. So a private variable equals gold, the game troops gold, items, the game troops drop items. And then here's the thing we changed. Instead of calling game troop dot, I think it's game troop dot experience or total experience maybe, we're substituting it with our calculate XP. So it does this instead of just getting the total. Yeah, experience total. So we took this out and did a bunch of math on it before we put it back in by using our own. So that's how this actually works. Okay. So hopefully that made sense. This plugin is available for free. CC0. Please modify it, take it, use it. I would love credit, but it isn't required by any means. Let's go ahead and show you what this does. So give me just a moment. We'll do a little bit of editing. So these resources are from the 8-bit all-in-one pack. It's a great pack, and I do recommend it. Let's start by... Let's show you how it looks if we have 2 party members and this is set to true. So by default, this slime troop gives 50 experience, right? So if this is true and their average party level is 1, which it is, because these are level 1 characters. Nope, they're level 2 characters. Ah, okay. So the average party level is 2, and there's 2 of them. So since we have our plugin on, it's going to first divide by the average party level of 2. So 50 divided by 2 is 25. And then it's going to divide by 2 again because there's 2 party members. And then it's going to floor it, so round down. So it's going to be 12. That's what we should see. So without the plugin, both party members would receive 50 experience. But instead, they get 12, right? If we go back and we turn our use APL off, so now it is not going to take into account their levels, but it is going to take into account how many party members there are. So we would expect it to do 50 divided by 2, which is 25. And that's exactly what we get. So this is a useful plugin because it encourages players to try to do missions with less total party members. It also encourages folks to explore more, to find more challenging monsters, because if you have the APL flag on, that slime's going to be worth 12, but at level 3 it's going to be worth less. At level 4 it's going to be worth 6 or so, right? So eventually it just won't even be worth it to fight slimes. So it pushes characters to both move on, or players to move on and try different types of characters. This system essentially mimics Final Fantasy IX, and to an extent Final Fantasy VI as well, although I don't believe 6 had the diminishing returns, just the APL returns, that is. I think it just was party members. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Is this something that, I mean, is the plugin useful? And maybe more importantly, does this show you how to use the plugin system to make your own? Also, I'm really curious if folks have things that they'd like me to try and figure out in terms of how to code them. I mean, program requests are fine, but you know, I have mixed availability. But as far as teaching how to do this, what would be useful, I'd love to know. And yeah, what else would people like to see? Okay. Well, I'm going to kind of flip gears here because that was the main thing I wanted to make sure I did today. But I'm also going to do just a little bit of dev work. So if you were here for the coding piece, this is probably kind of a good stopping point, but you're certainly welcome to hang around, body double while you work on your project. All right. Let's see. Oh, you know what? While I'm thinking about it, I will go ahead and run through, show you what I've been working on. So, game design wise, you almost always want to let your players have the option to skip the tutorial because a lot of them don't need it. But we're going to go through it. So this teaches you how to walk, teaches you how to interact with things like this treasure chest, teaches you the idea of hidden objects around the map. That little indicator at the treasure chest and also on the rock, that's from a plugin that you can set to show that hey, there's something you can click on here, which I love. This tells you how to access the main menu and that you need to equip equipment. And then this tells you how to do basic combat. This introduces the idea of elemental resistances. Hopefully I'm not blowing out people's ears. I have it turned down as low as possible. we go. And we can see the effect of our plugin there. Again, it's at 25 instead of 50. Master Reyes said I would be ready for my first mission when the tutorial dream came. I can talk to the guild steward at the bar downstairs, so I'm ready for my first job. It wakes up at this point if you did not do the tutorial. It gives you all the items except for the buckler, and then there's a buckler sitting on this desk that you can grab. So, pretty interesting there. Alright, this lighting effect comes from the community lighting plugin. Oops, I didn't mean to take a snooze. Okay, this lighting effect comes from the community lighting plugin. I think this is just the neatest plugin there is. I think I covered how to use it last time. Now, it does have a frame rate penalty for sure. I usually am straight 60 frames, but with the lighting plugin, it does go down. Waiting for this. Great, let's keep it simple. I have Master Wayland's urn here. Putting icons and colors on your text really helps people know what's important, and I think it looks much, much better. So I do recommend that from a design perspective as well. Don't tell me what I saw. There were lights in the sky during the last storm. Lights in the storm is called lightning. What I've done here is it actually triggers the same event whichever person you talk to, which I think is fun. Makes them feel a little bit more alive. I made that boiling pot of water there custom using the convoluted file name system for making your own animations. I can actually show you that here. Last person here. So, and go up here. I can also show you how I did this, where you can walk under things. I learned this from a post on Reddit, and I was doing it with plugins and a gigantic sort of pain before, but the way that I learned to do it is way, way easier. So let's take a look at that too. All right. So, taking a look at those things that might be useful for folks. First of all, so in our layering system, we have on layer 1, there is walkable floor tile here, right? On layer 2, there is the ceiling. The rest of this, as you can kind of see on layer 1, is empty. You can't walk on empty. So that makes it so that you pass, that you can walk here, but you can't say walk here. And then to complete the effect, you go to your tile sets, and inside you can see that the roof is set to star, which means you pass under it. That gives us our pass under effect wherever we want it. It's really powerful, and I think looks really, really good. I mentioned the convoluted file naming system for making animations. Let's go ahead and show you that as well. So animations are under characters, which I don't think is a great name, but it is what it is. To make something where the animation is larger than 48 by 48, what you have to do is make your image, and it's going to be 3 frames. By default, 3 frames is maximum. So mine is 48 by 96, for instance. So I've got my 3 frames. And then you have to go 4 times down. So in this case, I need 96 times 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So now that's the right size for the image. And then we have to save it with a $sign in front of our PNG name. So in this case, it's $0_penny underscore animated pot.png, I think. So the $sign has to be there in order for the engine to know what size, or rather really how to slice the image up. So looking at the event itself, this, where it's slicing correctly, is because of the $sign and the fact that it's the size across and then 4 times down. That's just how it works. It's a little bit convoluted, but now you know, just in case you didn't. Let's see. Anything else? I think beyond that, starting to work on my world map a little bit. There's where we start in the guild hall, and there's going to be our first dungeon, which is the forest. And then you'll go over here to the port to head out into the world. Plot-wise, as you saw, you're going to be taking a sort of Dead Master's urn to a mountaintop for interment, but that mountaintop is in another country, and your country and that country are currently at odds. So that is our initial conflict. Our secondary conflict that becomes our main conflict in the second act is that there is a sort of cataclysmic storm that happens about once every 50 years here. And people just have to kind of burrow underground and come back up and clean up after. Well, it turns out what that is it's devastation from the engines of a spacefaring civilization. And so you're going to play the team that discovers the sort of aliens coming to refuel is what destroys your civilization every 50 to 100 years, and try to put a stop to it. So that is what we're going to be working on. Let me see, anything else I want to get to before I sign off? Go. One thing I can show you real fast in case you have never done this, it's a really good way to add landmass to your continents. If you like having the sort of shallower water around it, just set your pen tool, set it to the shallow, and do whatever. Doesn't really matter. And then fill it in with dirt, and then you can just go in and spot check. It's way, way faster than doing all of this manually around the whole thing. And if you have more circular kind of sweeping, you'll have less to even spot check. This is kind of comparably a lot because of the shape. But if you've ever done this manually, you know that that was nothing. So just a nice like little tip. Go ahead and probably not keep that. It's an odd shape. We'll see. Anything else I want to go over today? I think that's probably it for today, or at least for now. I might do some mapping the forest, actually. That is the next thing I need to do. So we can start that now. Let's see. I wish there was a way to tell how long I've been going. Oh, here we go. 32 minutes. Yeah, let's go ahead and start the forest. I'll shoot for an even hour. And mapping certainly seems to take up more time than you'd expect. All right. So our forest, you're going to enter it here, and you have to pass through it to get to the mainland. Our goal is to have a path that is convoluted the first time you go through, and then a shortcut every time thereafter. So we're going to add a new outside. This is Garflin Forest. We're going to start at 50 by 50. We might take it down. We'll see. Boop. So there's all different ways to map. There's no wrong way or right way. I prefer to kind of get the elevation and contour the elevation. And then after that, I look at kind of other, what else I want it or need it to have. I think we're going to go to here for this. Go down somewhere around. Okay, we're gonna go down around there. And then the next thing I typically try to get in is, do I want any like water features, I guess would be the way to put it. And we're gonna go through and do this, which is a little tedious, but it does make it look better. Stop it. Sorry, my cat's hitting my chair. Amazing how much just a little bit of line work, how much difference it actually does make in sort of selling the idea that this is a cliff. Yeah, if you like this 8-bit art, I really can't stress how great of a pack this is. It comes with everything: animations, characters, every kind of tile set you could possibly want. And you're allowed to modify the assets, edit them, pixel smash them, however you want to do. It is... yeah, it's really worth it, especially if you can catch it on, like right now, I think the winter sale's going on. I think it's like 40% off. It doesn't have any music, and the built-in music for RPG Maker is a little more grand than you might expect on an 8-bit game, so that is something that I think I actually bought some packs already over the years, and I'm going to search through what I have and probably look at doing 8-bit sounds as well, but we'll see. So I know I ask every time, but have you had a chance to work on anything yet lately, Garrett? If you're still there? There we go. Let's see. So once you have your basic terrain and your water features, there's kind of two ways you can go about this. You can either map out your path and then fill in kind of your trees around it, or the opposite, you can kind of fill in your trees and then build your path around that. There isn't a right or wrong way to go. Let's see, I think I'm gonna do this. Oops. Okay, we'll go through and put in our This is one of the areas where the 8-bit graphics really shine. I think these trees look so much better than the 48 by 48 ones that are in the default, or even the MV Trinity. These just look way better. I think it's how grouped they are. They make the wood look thicker. Of course, that's just a matter of preference at the end of the day. There's not a right way. Okay, our path's starting to come together, starting to look pretty nice. And we know that we're gonna have them come down here and come down here, and we're gonna have them cross the river here. I always forget in this pack you can pass through that water, which you can of course turn off, but I don't like to turn it off because I think it does allow for some cool stuff, but it means you have to be judicious when you there we go. All right. Okay. It's starting to look like more and more of a woodland as we go here. Let's add in some just random dark patches of ground. Again, I've always been sort of amazed how much just a little variation really matters. You sometimes kind of forget that you need to close off all these sections. There we go. go. And then we're going to have our exit be right here. So we will... There we go. Perfect. All right, there's our exit. There's our entrance. Continue with our little bit of browning here, just around. We'll go through, we'll put in our path. Adding in the path makes it look a little nicer. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna kind of take away a little bit of that flat. And we're gonna add a dock. Someone could be using that, right? Certainly conceivable. We'll be fishing. Okay. Looks good. We're looking more and more like our forest every moment. Throw in some flowers. I once heard a rule that you should try to do no more than 3 of a given doodad in an area, and I respect it, but when you're doing the 8-bit, you don't have that many doodads by default. There's some, and you can make some, of course. But I would say, yeah, you're probably all right to let that go. Let's get some grass around here. That adds. Oh yeah, that looks great. That adds a lot. Just throw it in. Oop. Don't override your trees. Just kind of throw it around. So every little bit that you add in detail-wise, to a point anyway, really just makes your game better. It looks better. It's more visually interesting. It gives your player something to pay attention to. This grass is going to be the semi-transparent, so there'll be an effect on the character sprite as well, which, you know, when you're dealing with this low level of graphics, really can make a difference. you know, graphics aren't everything. In fact, they're very little, it turns out. Indie games have been killing AAA titles because AAA titles are obsessed with photorealistic graphics and not story. But some graphics really does make a difference. So this is a great opportunity to just explore and see what looks cool to you. And if it looks cool to you, it'll probably look cool to others. Plus, this is your game, right? So you're putting in the effort, you get to make it look how you want. Okay. We'll head over to our D tab where I've done some edits on some of the base trees. It kind of gives them a little bit more variety. This trick where you use the top to imply depth is wonderful. I don't remember where I learned it, but I have been using it for years now, and I think it really, really adds. Now with the trees, I would say don't overdo it because they take up so much space. Just, you know, some of all of your tree types. You want it to, well, look like a forest, right? So it's a mix. Okay. Some leaf litter. Might be interesting by that, like, dead tree. Yeah, we got some grass humps I modified from the base assets to be 8-bit. Some logs I modified. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Maybe some of their mushrooms. Their big toadstool mushrooms, which I do love. And maybe some cut trees. Okay. All right. So there's our forest, and there's our convoluted path. Maybe, what do I want to do for the base, but like the easy path afterwards? Maybe I'll just add in some fast travel. That'll work well. All right. Well, what do you guys think about this? Alright, so that is mapping out a forest in about half an hour. And of course we will kind of finish up by wiring it to our world map. Why don't we do that? So we're going to go to quick event, transfer, out to our world map, down, and then up here. Transfer, world map here, pacing up. This is kind of a neat trick if you don't know about this. So we're going to do conditional branch is the actor. Where are you? The character player is facing down. Is facing up. So this gives us two different ways for this transfer to work. And then we're just going to go over here. Quick event transfer. Garfield Forest. I just copied out the guts. I could have done it manually, but eh. And we're facing left. Otherwise, if we're up, we're going to be here, and we're going to be facing up. I actually want you to be facing right. There we go. Okay. So now, and we're going to have to actually clear out of there. Okay. Nope. Well, there we go. Events, man. You never get them right the first try, no matter how simple they are. Alright, so now if we head down, it's going to take us into this forest. And we're going to hold down control so we can cheat through. When we leave, it's going to take us out to the south. Now if we go up into it, now we are in the south. So that is a fantastic way to have a single entrance to an area that does what you expect it to do. All right, so that is our forest all wired up. We are pretty much right at an hour. I hope this was helpful for folks. Covered a lot of ground here. Again, for folks who were here primarily to check out the programming, it's the first 10-ish minutes of it, maybe 15. Give that a look. Let me know what you think. Nice to see you there. Is it me? Thanks for checking it out. And yeah, if you have any ideas for what you'd like me to teach on the coding side next, please just let me know in the comments. Consider a like and subscribe. And we will do some coding and some mapping and everything again, probably next Sunday. Take care, y'all. See you later, Garrett.